Leon, thank you very much for joining us. Nice to be back at Carrow Road, first and foremost.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously brings back a lot of memories. This room's obviously not too familiar, but obviously I've had some great memories. Promotions, a few relegations, but yeah, fantastic time here. So yeah, good to be back.
And obviously now you're retired and you can reflect on that career a bit more perhaps. How do you look back at that moment of being at Norwich City at that time?
No, it stands out quite largely in my mind really. Obviously had a fantastic football time here. Obviously got engaged here with my wife. Had my first two children were born here as well. But yeah, as in terms of football, yeah, probably up there with probably one of the best years I've had. Obviously playing in the Premier League, getting a promotion. So yeah, definitely up there with one of the proudest moments that I've had.
So we'll come back to Norwich a bit more generally a bit later on, but if we start at the very start, you're at Luton Town. You said you started perhaps not at Luton, but you were a right winger. What was that first moment like being put into centre back? Something you were happy with at the time?
It was a little bit of a shock to the system. Obviously being a right winger, you get all the glory and you provide and get loads of assists and stuff, but I suppose being a defender, you probably got to be a bit more harder and a bit more sharp if I say, but obviously made a career of it and like to think it's a half decent career, and yeah, started at Luton as an apprentice. I remember at the time I wasn't really too sure what position that was kind of mine, what I could make mine and kind of cement down, and I think the manager said to me, we prefer you playing at centre half. We know you can do a job at kind of like right wing, but I think you're probably going to make more of a career at centre half. So at the time I wanted to be a professional footballer, and if they recommended that I cement their place at centre half, then so be it.
We hear so much, particularly with young players, about sacrifice, hard work. How much sacrifice and hard work did you have to put into get into the position that you are? Yeah,
I don't think it's just not me. I think it's just sports in general, whether it be football, rugby, golf, whatever it is. In terms of football, like I said, like bank holidays, you don't have bank holidays off, and Christmases, obviously we used to come in and train. If it wasn't Christmas morning, we'd be in Christmas evening, and obviously a game on Boxing Day, which is quite a festive period for football. So, you know, there's a lot of sacrifices that you got to make being a footballer. It's not all glory like everybody sees. So you get paid a lot of money, but there's a lot of sacrifices that you have to kind of leave behind. So I wouldn't change it for the world. I think it's the best job in the world. But yeah, it's definitely something that I love doing, and obviously is a massive part of my life.
And it must be interesting in a sense, because at say 15, 16, you've got to be quite selfish and look down the path for yourself. So at that sort of age, what was your childhood sort of like at that period? Was it all about football, or was it other things as well? Because I think we hear some people just focus on football and it's football religiously, and then others sort of fall into it. So whereabouts on that scale were you?
So I started quite late really. I didn't kind of get signed into a football team until I was kind of 13 years old. So before then I was my mum got me into like karate, rugby, football, all sorts really. So I was kind of, in a way I think that kind of helped me really just to adjust to different sports, different agility and different mindsets, different skill levels. So I wouldn't say I was just obviously focused on football. I think football was always my first love. That was my favourite sport. But I did use other skills in obviously like rugby with the agility and stuff that obviously played a massive part in being a professional footballer.
And obviously you came through at Luton Town. We see quite a few players come through. Max Aarons and Jamal Lewis at this place have both come through the Luton Academy. And what is it about that academy that is so successful at producing young English talent?
Well, I think everybody knows they're not obviously blessed with the most amount of money in the world, and they have to kind of like force their youngsters through. And I just think they've got a great belief, a great structure in the running through the club. It's just when I was young, I've always kind of worked hard and had that work ethos that I've had to follow. And obviously I was given a chance to play, and like Max Aarons, and you've got to kind of take your opportunity and take it from there.
You say there, opportunity, is that the thing for a young player? Because you can be as good as anyone really, but if you don't get the opportunity to have a go and have a run in the first team, then you can't fulfil that potential.
Yeah, I'm a strong believer of the only way you can gain experience is by being given the experience. So like I said, like you said, really, just if you've been given the opportunity, you need to kind of take it with both hands and try and build on it. There's a lot of players have done that and obviously gone on to bigger and better things.
And then you come through the academy at Luton, you get an opportunity in the first team. It sort of comes in fits and starts for you. As a young player, what is it like to sort of be drip fed those moments? Is that something that you found quite useful, or would you have like Max Aaron, for example, liked a prolonged run in the team to sort of gain that experience?
Yeah, I think a bit of both. It depends on the individual, really. I think if you're one of those guys that obviously feeds on confidence and you can do well, then obviously playing regular games obviously helps you out massively. But if you're one of those ones that probably struggle a little bit on confidence, and obviously your first game ain't the greatest game, you might need to just be taken out just to, I don't know, maybe you can do an analysis and just watch what you could have done or should have done a little bit better and learn from it. And obviously once you get that opportunity again, then maybe you can progress on it.
What were you like as a young player being given your debut at Luton Town? Was it something that you felt nervous towards, excited? Because I think when we see young players go in, we perhaps expect them to hit the ground running, but that's not always easy, is it?
No, definitely not. I think if you're any kind of youngster, especially at Norwich, like coming into a massive stadium like this and playing in front of like 20,000, it's obviously going to be a lot of pressure. But for me, playing at Luton, it held kind of like 10,000, and obviously it is still quite a lot of people watching you. But I used to kind of savour the moment. I used to enjoy it, really. I just used to focus on obviously just playing well for the team and doing whatever I can to make it quite difficult for the striker. So I used to love things like that, setting myself targets and set myself kind of just individual targets through the year. So I remember in my first kind of run in the first team, I remember we played Leicester at home and it was on Sky Sports. So I'd always say, what I'll do today is I'll try and do my best to keep a clean sheet, and I managed to keep a clean sheet. And the first game, I think I ended up scoring 12 minutes in, and it was on Sky, so it was always nice. But I always had a momentum that I'd set myself a target to score a goal, keep a clean sheet, get man in a match. So little things like that always kind of put me in good stead, really.
Do you think those targets you set yourself almost helped you deal with that pressure of being in that environment, and perhaps not sort of made your thought process go in on itself, but perhaps made you think individually in what is quite a big moment for a young footballer?
Yeah, definitely. I think it helped me. I didn't really know when I was younger. I didn't really realise, what it kind of takes to be a footballer. Really, I just kind of enjoyed the moment as it come, and like I said, setting those targets obviously helped me in like a massive way.
And you come through at Luton Town, and then you get a fairly big move to West Brom at the time. I think it was a couple of £1 million, which at that time would have been big money. How's that like, from going to a young player who's just starting his trade to then getting a big move to a bigger club? Yeah,
obviously at the time I didn't, it sounds silly, but I didn't really think of it as obviously being a big move. I just thought it was another opportunity being given to me. So I remember obviously going on pre-season with Luton Town, and the manager called me over. I think it was Kevin Blackwell at the time, and just said, "Listen, we've accepted a bid from West Brom." And at the time I was thinking, well, the club obviously don't want me. What do I do? But obviously spoken to my agent, and he said, "Listen, they've accepted a large amount of money that obviously Luton Town needed at the time for me to progress and go play on at a high level." And I remember West Brom obviously got relegated that season, and then obviously wanted to bring me in to help the team to get promoted. So it was a massive plus for me. Obviously stepping into that changing room, I remember walking in, and obviously the whole changing room was full, and there weren't really many spaces available for me to sit down. And I remember I had to squeeze in next to John Hartson and Paul Robinson. So
quite a squeeze.
Yeah, quite a squeeze. But it was obviously the names that were there was unbelievable, and I think there was like Kevin Phillips, Zoltan Gira, Jonathan Greening that were in the change room. And when you walk into a change room like that from a local lad at Luton, you think, I can only get better playing with these guys, and I can only learn a lot. So it was definitely a massive turning point in my career, realising that I'm playing alongside some of the greater players in the Championship, and obviously they helped me progress again. And obviously, I don't know whether I thought it was going to be a little bit easy, but we ended up winning the Championship in the first attempt. So yeah, it's definitely another time that I really cherish that.
So that mentality as a young player, as you say, walking into that dressing room, you say it's something that improved you. I think most people, if I was to be put in that situation, for example, I think I'd probably be quite daunted by some of the names in there. So as a young player, how do you go about it? Is it just seeing those operators as people who can improve you, or is it something that you have to perhaps grow into and find your space a little bit?
No, it was definitely daunting. Like I said, those players that walking into that change room was thinking like, do they even know who I am? And you have those kind of like doubts in your mind. But I did have those doubts walking into the change room, but I never doubted my ability. So it was always something that I looked forward to. It was a challenge that was set, and obviously the manager at the time, Tony Mowbray, gave me, and obviously trusted my ability, and obviously, like I said again, I set my targets to try and get in the team, try and stay in the team, win promotion with the club, and obviously I probably did end up kind of achieving most of those. So it was one of those ones where, as a team and as a personal momentum, I obviously reached a lot of those targets. But as a young player in general, I think I wouldn't put no pressure on them. I just obviously just try and savor the moment, set targets, and enjoy every moment as you can. Obviously, it's a short career, but I look back at some of the young kids that I've obviously kind of like learnt through me. I've obviously just said to them, enjoy your time. Like, don't be nervous. You've obviously been given this chance because you've been trusted. So just take the opportunity as you can, because it could be your last.
Brilliant, yeah. As a young player, what's it like transitioning from a stadium, as you say, that held about 10,000 people, and the expectation was perhaps minimal for a young player like yourself, into a dressing room where there were players like Kevin Phillips, Zoltan Gira, Jonathan Greening, as you mentioned, and the expectation to be winning the league? Is that a different mindset that you have to adapt to?
Yeah, I suppose it can be a different mindset for others, but I can only speak on my behalf. I remember obviously when I played at other stadiums, I'd never, obviously before the match even starts, you obviously go out and you have a look at the stadium. There might be a few people in there, and then you realise obviously it's a big obviously stadium. But in terms of obviously during the game starting, I'd never really like zone out and think, oh wow, there's a lot of people watching. I'd always be in the zone concentrating on the game. So it might sound silly, even though there's kind of like 20, 30, 35,000, whatever there is in the stadium, I'd never actually kind of hear them, if that makes any sense. I'd always kind of be focused on the game. I'd always kind of only be able to hear, obviously the manager shouting and barking at you, but obviously the players calling for the ball, and I don't know, little things like that. I would never be able to hear kind of like the chanting or the singing or whatever like that, unless there's obviously a break of play. So I would always be zoned in on the game. Never really can hear what's going on.
That's interesting. There's quite a bit of talk in these parts, particularly for about the last year or so, about atmosphere and how fans can help the players. Is it a case that fans can give players a bit more, or as you've said, is it a case that actually players just zone out and they're in their own world on the pitch, and it's just a case of them focusing? Yeah,
definitely. I think you definitely can hear the fans. I think they do play obviously a massive 12 man, but like I said, for example, if I've got the ball, I only can kind of hear who wants the ball, who's shouting at me. But like I said, when the ball goes out of play, you can definitely hear the chant, you can hear the singing, and if the fans are on your back, then you definitely hear that. And if they're not, if they're obviously pushing you on, it obviously makes a massive difference. So different stages of the game obviously helps you in different ways.
And obviously, as you say, you won the title that year with West Brom. You're in the Premier League. Yeah. As quite a young footballer, what's that like? Because you come from Luton Town, a relatively small club in the grand scheme of things, to now playing Premier League football in quite a short space of time. How was that as a transition, as a quick sort of period of time?
Yeah, no, it was a little bit of a quick fix, really. It was obviously amazing. Obviously, the time that I had in the Premier League is probably one of the best times I've had. So, like I said, playing with the players that I had, obviously like Zoltan Gira, and obviously when I was here, even having like Grant Holt in your team, it was fantastic. So in terms of having them, and then obviously going on to play against obviously players like Didier Drogba, Wayne Rooney and Gerrard, is just obviously a dream come true as a youngster. And like I said, you just have to kind of embrace it as you can. I think if you worry about it too much, then obviously I think that's where you kind of struggle mentally, and I think that comes into play when you're playing football. So every game I used to enjoy, and I used to look forward to playing against the better players. And even though I probably did struggle against the better players, I'd look at it as a plus. I've obviously been given the opportunity to play against the Suarez's, the Coutinhos and stuff. So I enjoy whether I played badly or not. I enjoy playing against them. And at the end of the day, no one can probably take that away from me.
Absolutely. And as a young player in the Premier League, how influential were those more experienced players around you? Were they players that did guide you through games, or was it something that you just sort of took in your stride?
Yeah, so we had, when I was here at Norwich, we had obviously Grant Holt. He was obviously a more experienced player than what I was, but he hadn't experienced that sort of level. So he could only obviously advise us on his playing experience. He couldn't obviously advise us on like Premier League experience. So that was still good because obviously he'd played through all four kind of like leagues. But then when I got to kind of like John Hartson, that played at well, all sorts of levels, like kind of like Europa League and Premier League for years. Like he could obviously advise us on different ways how to play the game. Obviously, you can't obviously go pressing your position. Sometimes you have to kind of take your medicine. If anything, kind of when you're playing against Manchester United, you might have to kind of like play for a draw a little bit. So I did learn a lot from different players that have played at different levels. So no, I appreciate obviously the help that they've given me, and hopefully I can obviously rub some off at young players I play with, and obviously help others in different ways.
How do you compare your two spells in the Premier League, obviously with West Brom and then later with Norwich? Do you look at one and go, I was a better player in the Norwich period, I was a better player in the West Brom period? How do you compare the two?
I'd definitely say I learned a lot in the second period, so the time at Norwich. Obviously with West Brom it was more of a kind of like a wow kind of factor and just enjoying it, but then obviously Lambert came in and he was kind of a more in your face at it, if you know what I mean, kind of in terms of not at us, he was more kind of didn't really want to show people respect, didn't want to show the opposition respect, so he wanted to just go to Man United and go to Liverpool and be aggressive and go there and pretty much not lay down. So I think in the first season, I think we finished kind of like 10th. So I think a lot of people kind of wrote us off at the start of the season, thinking that we were going to get relegated. And yeah, I think he went there and proved a lot of people wrong. And I think he just showed that you know, we are Norwich City, and he does believe in the team. And at the end of the day, we believed in him, and he obviously took us a long way.
Let's talk about that period at Norwich then. What was it like? Because obviously you joined on loan in the summer, just after the League One season. When you arrived, did you feel the sense the club was on a bit of a wave?
Yeah, I did actually. Obviously, they obviously got promoted from League One, so the spirits were high. They had momentum. And I remember having a chat with Ian Culverhouse and Paul Lambert, and they were just saying, listen, we want a little bit of experience, and we want you to kind of like just be our defender and, you know, steady the ship a bit and keep us in the league. And I thought, yeah, that's great, but you know, I'm a winner. Whatever game I want to do, I want to win the game. I want to play at the highest level, and I want to win the league. So I made that known, and I said to him, like, you know, if I come here, I want to be up there trying to win the league. So, and I think they were all for it. Like I said, Paul Lambert's a winner, but obviously I think he wanted to be kind of like realistic with me. So yeah, we ended up doing pretty well. I think a lot of people thought that we were going to be relegated. We started the season quite well. I remember, like I said, the manager just said, come in and steady the ship. We done that, and we started to push on from like January onwards. And I think we had a kind of like a chat with the coaching staff around January, Christmas time, and I think we just said to ourselves that, you know, we've got a fantastic opportunity of obviously winning this league and obviously helping us like financially, obviously, and obviously setting targets, obviously putting our names down in history, and obviously going on to get promoted. So that was something that we wanted to do, and we obviously took it a little bit further, and obviously got promoted. So.
What was it like walking into that dressing room, particularly as a player who's just joined after they've won promotion? We hear so much about that season and how it was like a band of brothers in there. For you, who was an outsider, what was it like coming into that group? No,
it's fantastic. Obviously, I think when you're young like I was at the time, you obviously kind of look for like someone that's a similar sort of age, or someone that's, I don't know, similar sort of ability, or a playing in the same position, just to kind of like build a friendship. And there, I went in there looking for someone that was sort of similar sort of age, but I sat next to Simon Lappin, and I think it might have been Elliot Ward at the time, and obviously they were two defenders, similar sort of age, but as soon as I walked in, everybody was kind of like friendly anyway. So that was definitely a bonus with me. And like I said, obviously playing against Grant Holt and obviously other players like Chris Martin, not always nice to chew on their elbows in training, but it's obviously a learning process that I always had, and they've obviously went on to play at a high level and do really well for the club. So it was obviously club legends like Russell Martin and Wes Houlihan that were there, so could always learn a lot from them. Obviously being in the area, they've been in the area a lot longer than me, so they obviously advised me where to live and what to do during the days and stuff like that. So yeah, they were very obviously helpful as soon as I walked through the door.
How does that dressing room rank in terms of your career? It must be right up there with the best, I presume.
Yeah, definitely. If it's not the best one, it was definitely one of the best ones. Like I said, obviously where Norwich is kind of just outside the area, so there's obviously not a massive amounts to do. So they would always welcome me as a friend, like you said, as a band of brothers really. So we'd always spend time off the pitch, which was good. We'd always have kind of like team nights out, team dinners, and I think even Delia helped the wives out by I think she took them away to obviously her restaurant Yellows, and then obviously I think they went to some sort of horse racing or something. So they always were kind of in and around the club, and they always felt welcome.
It's little touches like that, isn't it, that make people feel involved in the club. How big as a player is that to be looked after? Because I think we often look at the stuff and say, well, if they're doing well on the pitch, everything is okay. But actually, if there's that support network in place, how big is that as a player? Because it can be quite a lonely world, can't it?
Yeah, I think like you said, that support network obviously plays massive, helps us massively really. Obviously, if your family's happy, then obviously you've got nothing to worry about. All you can do is do what you do best and obviously play football. So, like I said, when obviously Delia, it's a massive obviously gesture for her to take the girls out and obviously just keep them sane, because obviously they've moved a long way, and they're obviously here in the process of us obviously trying to play football, and it makes us a lot easier obviously when the wives are away, and obviously we can do what we do best. But obviously, like I said, we had obviously a lot of time off the field to kind of like build relationships and gel as a team, and obviously you can see what's happening now at Norwich. I don't know what they're doing, but they're obviously doing something well, and it's obviously progressing into a lot better than what we were first thought at the start of the season.
I saw them trips to Yellows.
It could be a lot of those.
But yeah, as we go back to your time at the club, everyone speaks about the togetherness that was about. How influential is it to have togetherness in a team, and how much can that sort of, when perhaps footballing ability isn't as good as compared to other teams, but if you've got that togetherness, how big an element is that to a successful team? Yeah,
I think that's massive. I think just going back on our team, I actually don't think we had the best squad, if that's a bit harsh. I think, but as a team, I think we were obviously one of the strongest in the league. There was obviously players that had not really played in the Championship, and there definitely weren't players that played in the Premier League. So as a team, we obviously built a relationship that was strong enough to kind of overcome a lot. I think we went through a few periods where, like I say, it was a bit like a purple patch. We weren't really kind of picking up any results, weren't really picking up any points, struggling quite a bit. But we're still together as a team. There weren't there wasn't anybody that was kind of making it difficult in the team. So we always built like strong relationships that we built through the year, and it obviously just paid off really. We went through that purple patch and obviously went through it really well, and obviously come out really strong as a team. So yeah, I think like I said, we built a strong relationship through the season, and it obviously paid off really well.
When we speak about those relationships, how easy is that you've obviously been in a lot of dressing rooms, how easy is that to construct? Is it something that is just there and just forms naturally, or is it something that actually you have to work on together to create?
No, that's a good question. I think you do have to kind of, I think you do have to work on it. Obviously there's a lot of different personalities, a lot of egos that you've got to deal with. And to begin with, it's probably the manager's issue really to get all of those egos and personalities to kind of gel. So obviously Paul Lambert at the time, there wasn't really a lot of egos in the changing room. We were all kind of like similar but different in our own ways that kind of like gelled well. So I couldn't say there was anyone in that change room that I thought, I don't want to sit next to him, or I don't really want to walk, on our team. I didn't want to walk with him, or I didn't want to talk with him. We all literally had dinner at the same time. We all went gym at the same time. We all did things at the same time. So there was no one ever really left out. So that I think a lot of credit does go to that coaching staff and obviously the directors that kind of have faith in him to say, you know what, yeah, we'll bring him in, because I think a lot of the time he did look at personalities and egos, and like I said, there wasn't no ultra egos in that team that I played with.
Is that rare? Obviously, you're an experienced footballer, sitting now retired at 33 years of age, you've been in a lot of dressing rooms. Is it rare for a dressing room to have that much togetherness?
I think it is rare. I think, well, especially now, I think it is very, very rare. Obviously, I don't want to name no names, but there's a lot of clubs that do have that I don't know, one or two people, the rotten eggs that do, I don't know, I'd say disrupt the dressing room, and it does take a negative effect on the whole team. And obviously, if you've got that bad mentality, then obviously it does set the season on a bad tone. So yeah, I think it is a tough ask to find those good egos, those good personalities that can obviously all gel together.
You speak again quite rightly about the personalities in that group, and do you think that lack of ego did help with that togetherness building and is responsible for why, for example, we saw so many late winners in this place and whatnot? Is that the reason, because of the lack of ego and the fact that everyone was backing each other up and it was a supportive dressing room?
Yeah, I think it is. I think obviously you've got to have that right mentality as well. I think, like you said earlier this season, that you've had that never die attitude that I think even Paul Lambert had that. I think we had the most amount of goals that were scored in the last 10 minutes, I think. So I think he's the first to say that we never had that lay down and die. And, once someone scores, we just lie down and die. He was the first one that set the tone and said to everybody, we won't stop until like basically the 96th minute. So I remember we had those goals that were scored by kind of like Wes that was scored like last minute. So yeah, we always had that never die attitude that would stem through the whole team, and it obviously set a tone for the rest of the season.
How important is it when a group, as you say, doesn't perhaps have the talent that other teams have, that they do have that work rate and they do have that togetherness and they don't have an ego? Because if I think back to that time, again, it's not probably the most talented Norwich City squad that anyone's ever seen, but what they did have was an amazing ability to work hard and to support each other, and that togetherness, as you say, was influential in that. So how important is that as a tool, I suppose, to success? Yeah,
well, just going back to obviously what I said, obviously I'm not having a pick at any of our kind of like players or anything. I think we did have some good individuals, but as a team collectively, I think we were a lot stronger. And like you said there, I think just having those no egos in the team that were, no one thought they were bigger than anybody, obviously plays a massive part, and obviously it stemmed quite well. But just, I think that, like I said, that togetherness is something you can't really buy. I think obviously the manager goes and looks out for people that he thinks that ultimately are going to get on, but you need to try and find that talent that's good for the team, and obviously find that those people that have strong mentalities and don't actually have an ultra ego, have good personalities that all can gel with obviously 22 people.
We've sidestepped him a little bit, but I suppose we've got to talk about Paul Lambert. How influential was he on you, for example, in that period?
No, I think he was obviously fantastic for me. I think it was kind of like the back end of my career at West Brom, and it didn't look like I was going to be playing anymore, and there weren't really many opportunities for me to come and play football. And obviously I had that call from Paul Lambert out of the blue, and it was a bit of a saving grace. I don't know how he's gone down well now, but he's played a big part in my career. He's obviously relighted my career, and he's got me going again. I think a lot of the boys are in a similar sort of position that I was. Obviously weren't really playing in their teams, and obviously got a chance to come to Norwich and play for a fantastic club, and obviously under a great manager. And he's just obviously put us back on track really, and put us all together as a group and got us into that winning mentality that we all missed. And yeah, it's obviously paid off really well.
But what was that phone call like? How did he sell the club to you?
He just said to me, just go and play, go and express yourself, go and do what you do best and do what you do love. So yeah, he just sold it in that sort of manner, and obviously sold us the club and just said it's a fantastic club to come and play for. It's obviously a massive club, family-run club, 20,000. So I don't think you really have to say more, really. I think he showed me around, and once you kind of step out in the tunnel, you realise what you're playing for, and and how big the stadium actually is and how big the club is. So I don't think he really had to say much, but I think it speaks volumes for itself.
What was he like for those players in the dressing room? Because I think we, as supporters, have a perception of him. He's got quite a hardened exterior in the media. Yeah. He's quite a prickly character sometimes if you ask him the wrong thing. What was he like as a leader for you guys?
Well, I can only talk from my experience. Like I said, I think he's a leader. I think when I spoke to him, I didn't really know much about him. So obviously when I found out more about him, obviously winning the Champions League, and I thought, that's unbelievable. I think him going to obviously Dortmund and obviously doing what he did, and obviously I remember him telling me a story about when he was going to announce that he was going to leave Dortmund. I think a load of his fans stayed, obviously, and obviously wished him goodbye. And obviously, I think there was a whole stand that said, I would chant his name and stuff. So it just shows that he is a legend and is someone that I look up to. Obviously, winning trophies that I wanted to win. Obviously, I didn't win the Champions League, but winning trophies along the way is obviously sets me on a massive tone. It's a massive target that I wanted to do, and yeah, he's done really well for the club. And I know it's harsh, but I think a lot of people don't actually realise that he's obviously done really well. Obviously, double promotion is a tough thing to do, and you don't really see many people doing it now, and not many clubs do it now. I think was it Leicester that done the double promotion, Bournemouth, but that's only 2 clubs, and I think Paul Lambert has to probably go down as one of the legends, really.
In terms of that, you spoke about it there, his playing career being massive for him. How important was that as a player, looking up to him and seeing his sort of playing career, and perhaps him installing that winning mentality that he had from his career into you? That must have been huge.
Yeah, of course. Well, he's obviously, being a manager, you've got to take different kind of philosophies and skills and coaching sessions from managers you've played under or played with. So he's obviously gone from, I don't know, it might have been Celtic, Dortmund, any of those teams that he played with, and he's took a few ideas and obviously brought it along with him to Norwich, and it's obviously worked well for him. So if I do obviously get a chance to be a manager or do any managing skills, and he definitely plays a part that's done well, and obviously it's worked. It's obviously a working factor to him, and it's obviously a working factor that's happened at Norwich.
What was he like day to day? Because I think we've had a few sort of ex-pros, Russell Martin, Wes Hughton, speak out about that period, and I've sort of said that Ian Colbahouse was responsible for a lot of the coaching. So what was Paul Lambert's role within that? Is he just sort of a motivator? Is he someone who just sort of gives the team talks? What exactly is his
I do think the opportunity. Well, I do think their coaching abilities were quite shared. I think they come in as a team. They didn't come in individuals, and obviously Gary Castle was there as well. And I don't think many people speak about him, but I think they obviously worked well as a team. Obviously, I don't know what happened at Aston Villa, but it's obviously nothing that I can really comment on really, because I wasn't really there. But the time that I was at Norwich, they worked well as a trio. Paul Lambert obviously did motivate us really well and knew how to do it for different people. Obviously, people had different motivations for, I don't know, mine was more trying to play at a high level. Others were to play for experience. Maybe they had to for the money-wise, financially. But yeah, he knew different people had different needed to be motivated in different ways. So he obviously knew what my motivation was, and obviously to play at a different level, at a high level, and win trophies. And he done it that way. Even Colbahouse obviously took majority of the coaching sessions, but I think they both worked on the same sort of level. I think a lot of managers that I've played with and played for, they've it's a bit weird really. The manager would obviously dictate what he wants to happen in the training sessions, but the assistant manager you'd get kind of like a different kind of concept of what they actually want. But I think they worked well. Like I said, I don't really know what happened at Aston Villa, but at the time at Norwich, it all seemed to flow quite well.
Do you think had they have stayed together that Paul Lambert would perhaps have a better managerial career than perhaps he has post-Norwich? Yeah,
possibly, but I don't know whether there was something that happened in the camp that, I don't know, they've disagreed on, which is quite sad, obviously, because like I said, when they're at Norwich, their relationship blossomed quite well, and obviously having Gary Castle there, he obviously worked well with him as a trio, and I think they've all gone kind of their separate ways. I don't know what happened, but obviously they can't really patch up and make up. But the time at Norwich obviously worked well, and it worked well for a reason. I think every day I enjoyed coming in, and it looked to me that every day they enjoyed coming in, and all the players, from what I can experience, it looked like everybody enjoyed it, and it all worked well, and it all kind of fit into place like a jigsaw, really.
You said there you enjoy coming in every day. What was it that they put in place that made you enjoy coming in every day?
Well, first thing, I think the weather's a lot more nicer than it is anywhere else. But just the training sessions were quick. They were rapid. The tempo was quick. It was enjoyable. So just going back to what we said earlier about our mentality. Just if you have a good mentality and everything's kind of happy and easy at home, and your family's been looked after, then obviously, like you said, you've got no pressure to deliver and play the best you can on the pitch. And obviously, like training, I don't know what it is like now, but the training facilities back then was unreal. So you couldn't really complain, or you couldn't really kick up a fuss about, the dinner's rubbish, or there's a bobble on the pitch. You've got everything laid out. You've got everything you've got all your tools. You just need to deliver, really.
So you spoke earlier about Paul Lambert being sort of a man manager, being able to get the best out of players.
Yeah.
How did he go about getting the best out of Leon Barnett at the time?
I think there was a lot of work to be done, to be fair. I think he's got me going back to basics, really. I think I went off the trail a little bit trying to, at West Brom, I think we were quite a passing team, and I used to try and make those kind of intricate passes where it probably wasn't on, and obviously I was kind of influenced to do it at West Brom. At Norwich, Paul Lambert brought me in to do one job, and that was just obviously defend with all I can, and obviously head it, kick it, pass it when I can. So he just kept it basic, and just obviously told me I need to do whatever I do was best, and he did exactly that, really. I just kept it simple, and obviously it just clicked on from there. I think everybody got told the same thing, just keep it simple. I think midfielders, obviously, if you're a wide man, if possible, first 10 minutes, if you can get at your defender, you get at him, and obviously put him on the back foot a little bit. And if you're struggling, just keep it simple, keep passing it, keep moving, and just create chances. But yeah, I think he just told everybody, do what you do best. Don't try and overcomplicate it. And just made it a lot more easier for myself and a lot more easier for everybody else.
There must have been some quite intense team talks from him, I would imagine. What was it like as a player to be on the receiving end of some of those?
Yeah, they were intense. But in terms of the tactical sessions, I remember I think we had Burnley here, and I think we were losing like 2-0, and it was half time, and we got played off the park, and we weren't really doing that well. And I remember Paul Lambert coming in, and we knew it was coming. We knew the hairdryer treatment was coming. I remember sitting next to Simeon Jackson, and I remember him tapping me just to give me the heads up not to say anything. So I remember him going flying off the hook, saying, effing and blinding, saying you need to do this, you need to do that. I remember him, we normally have food that comes in at half time ready for us at full time, and I remember him literally just tipping the whole kind of tray upside down, throwing football boots, and I knew then that it was going to be difficult, and I thought we've literally got to put our finger out in the second half, and we literally did it. So sometimes you do need the hairdryer treatment to get you going, and I think we ended up drawing that game 2-2 or winning 3-2. So things like that does need to be said, but I think you probably need to tone it down and obviously go through it the right way. But whatever he did there, I think everybody took that on board, and obviously didn't want that one to happen again.
I was going to say, as a player, we hear so much about Sir Alex Ferguson's hairdryer treatment and how players respond to that. How difficult or easy is it to take on board what a manager is saying? As you say, if there is food flying the place and there are being boots thrown, what's that like as a player to be on the receiving end of?
I think it depends on your personality, really. I think if it sounds harsh, but if the manager's actually pinpointing and actually talking to me, I'm one of those ones where I'll take it in, and obviously I will be emotional inside, and I will want to talk back. But I think if I do talk back and say what I think, it's only going to make it a lot more harder for me in the long term. I think sometimes I've just got to kind of just take it on board, and just, if I've got something to say, then I'll pull him at the end and say, obviously at the heat of the moment, I don't want to get caught up in an argument in front of the rest of the lads. It doesn't look good, but remember I don't want to name names, but there was a few people that obviously, especially with Paul Lambert, tried to kind of confront him, and then obviously it didn't work well, and they were never to be seen again in the team. So I think I was quite lucky, and obviously having that right mentality and that experience of maybe just keeping that tight lip and keeping my opinions to myself. And if I did think I had a serious opinion, I'd kind of like pull them at the end. So yeah, sometimes I think it's probably just to keep your mouth shut and then pull them at the end.
And in terms of egos, as we spoke earlier, how did he go about managing those? Because I think we've heard Russell Martin and Hughton again say on the record that there was quite a hefty fine system in place. That must be something that you were caught on the wrong end of.
Yeah, I think a few of us got fined for, I'd like to say probably petty things, but they were all kind of stuff that we learned from, and obviously discipline-wise, obviously helped us out massively. So, for example, I remember we used to get fined for just calling him a mate, and to be fair, he's not a mate, is he? He's our gaffer, he's our boss. So it stopped me from saying mate. I remember coming in and he must have been asking me a question or something, and I used to always say, yeah mate, it's not a problem, it's fine or whatever. And he said, oh, did you call me mate? And I said, I might have, because I used to say it quite a bit. I might have, it wasn't intentional or anything. And he said, if you call me mate again, you're going to get fined. I used to say, yeah, sure mate, not a problem. And then right there and then he'd fine me. And the fines wouldn't be left at the end of the week. You'd have to get it by the end of the day. So if you didn't have any cash, you'd have to borrow it off one of the boys, or literally go to the nearest cash point and draw it out. So you do learn from little things like that. I don't call my boss mate, because he's basically not my mate. So yeah, little things like that obviously set me a good step for obviously the season, but obviously in the long term.
I suppose that sort of thing is about upholding standards, isn't it? And he seems very big on standards. As a player, did that sort of thing ensure that those standards did stay at a high level throughout the group? Because I can imagine if he sort of let those things slide by, then perhaps players would have seen what they could get away with. Yeah,
definitely. I think that's spot on. I think he obviously set the tone for everybody. So if anybody if anybody did step out of line, then he's got the whole group to say, listen, you can't do that. You've got to rectify, you've got to put it right. So it wasn't just the manager we had to answer to, it was obviously the whole team. You don't want to let the team down. So yeah, he set the tone for the whole squad to kind of like lead from, and the experienced players made sure that we were in line, and it kind of just fed down towards the younger players.
And then you get promotion to the Premier League. That must have been an unbelievable moment for you personally.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. Obviously, playing in the best league in the world against the best managers, the best players, the best stadiums. Yeah, dream come true. It's a massive thing that for any footballer, that's what you want to be and where you want to play your football. And like I said, to go there and hold your own against teams like Man United. I remember I think it might have been the year that we finished 10th. I think we had Manchester United away, and I managed to start. So it was great. And I remember Anthony Pilkington having 2 unbelievable chances, and I thought he should have scored. I think there was one where he tried to go around the goalkeeper where he probably could have slotted it home, and the second one I think he hit the post or whatever. And yeah, I remember it was probably down to Paul Lambert saying, we're gonna go and press them, and we're not gonna give them a chance to just roll us over. We're gonna attack them and try and beat them at their own game. So yeah, we had a chance of obviously getting 2 goals in like the first 10 minutes, but it's unfortunate. I think we ended up losing that 2-1, but it's obviously a great experience and a great way to play football and play against some of the best teams and give them a bit of a run for their money.
I was going to say, tactically, how did Paul Lambert shift it? Because from the Championship, the approach was very much gun-ho, let's score as many goals as we can. Was that something that he maintained in the Premier League, or was it a case of having now to be a bit more cautious as well?
I think it was a little bit of both, really. I think you would set the tone, especially for the first 20 minutes, to attack him, no matter who it was. But obviously we couldn't go gung-ho for the whole 90 minutes. We'd obviously try and sit back and obviously have a little game plan. So I know after the first 20 minutes we used to obviously just say, it's like now kind of like sit back and get our breather and be hard to beat as a team. And I think that probably set us in a good step for the season. I think we yeah, we defended well as a team and we attacked well, and yeah, I think we did get rolled over at Man City. I think it was like 5-1, but there weren't many teams that obviously that gave us a good hiding.
If I mention Luis Suarez, I hope you don't sort of cower in your seat, but that must have been quite the experience to come up against him, because he loved playing against Norwich, didn't
he? He did. I think there was I don't know what the stat was. I think he, in the 2 years we stayed up, I think he scored kind of like 12 goals or something like that.
I think that's about right.
Yeah, it's an unbelievable stat but you got to realise he's obviously gone on to be one of the best players in the world and play for Barcelona. But I think if you ask any of the players that played against him, and even in the Norwich team, it's obviously a privilege to play against him. And you know, just to challenge yourself against someone like that is unbelievable. And yeah, we did try our best to try and stop him, but obviously I think he's probably one of the few that got the better of us.
What's it like being in a team that gets promoted from the Championship to then play some of the biggest teams in the world, let alone the country? What's it like as a player mentally? Do you have to shift your mentality and show more respect to opponents, or is it about, as you say, trying to hold your own and trying to do the best job you can against players like Suarez? Yeah,
I think it's a bit of both, really. I think as a Championship player, getting promoted into the Premier League, I think a lot of people kind of look at you as the small Norwich team that are going to get relegated in their first year. And once again, it's probably thankful to Paul Lambert to cement a mental attitude in saying, you know, we're not a small team, we're not going to get rolled over, we are going to roll our sleeves up and make it hard for other teams. So yeah, I think a lot of people wrote us off in that first year, and it probably worked in our favour, really. I think a lot of people thought that we were just going to get relegated, and you know, thankfully we didn't. We made it difficult for a lot of teams, and yeah, ended up finished. It might have been 10th or 12th, and doing really well. Yeah.
12th, yeah, I think it might have been 12th, yeah. Yeah, and then obviously at the end of that season, Paul Lambert leaves. How big a blow was that for you personally and for the group? Because it seemed like it hit them fairly hard. Yeah,
it was difficult. I think it was difficult for the players. It was difficult for the fans. It was difficult for the club in general. I think Aston Villa were struggling at the time. And to be fair, when you look at it in a manager's point of view, I think obviously if Aston Villa had been established in the Premier League for a long time, and for him to turn down an opportunity like that would probably be quite difficult for him. So obviously him going there, knowing him, he wanted to progress in his career and maintain that I don't know, that establishment that Aston Villa have got. He obviously went there in high spirits, obviously not looked as great for the fans here, but when I look back now, obviously it's probably an opportunity that he probably couldn't turn down. As a player, I don't think any of the players really wanted him to go, really. I think he probably did play as a bit of a father figure for a lot of us, obviously taking us from clubs that we didn't really feature, or and we weren't really getting much game time. He obviously moulded us into a player that we believed in, that we was in ourselves, and yeah, him leaving to go to Aston Villa probably was a tough time for us, and yeah, it was a tough time for us as a team. I think as a club, as a fan, because we were all fans, the players were all fans, but yeah, we didn't really want him to go, but it's something that he probably had to go in the long run.
Was it a case of him coming in and delivering a speech and telling you all that he was going, or was it just something that he did and didn't get the opportunity to say goodbye?
If I'm honest, I don't remember him coming in to deliver a speech. It would, if he did, I don't really remember it, but yeah, it was quite a quick process. I think with football, you never really get time to dwell on stuff. I think he had to literally just get his stuff and go. I think he took his coaching staff as well. So yeah, there wasn't really much time for him to say, thanks for my time and good luck for the season. It was more of kind of just a bit of business, really. You got to get on with it. And obviously Chris Hughton came in and did his best, and yeah, just took it from there.
I was going to say, yeah, obviously Hughton came in on the surface as a completely different character, a bit more pragmatic in style, but also a lot gentler, I think, maybe.
Yeah.
What was the adaptation period like under him? Because that must have been a completely different regime to work under.
Yeah, it was a completely different kind of structure, really. I think he was obviously a defender as well, so he was more kind of just be hard to beat and we weren't really thinking about scoring goals. I think he just thought, you know, if we can just shut up shop and try and gamble on a chance if we can nick a 1-0. And I don't know, once you've been built into kind of having that mentality of, you know, not all guns blazing, but if we're gonna kind of roll our sleeves up and go at him like Paul Lambert did, and then obviously turn into kind of like a team that was just set up for a draw or set up for kind of like a 1-1 or nick or 1-0 win was quite difficult, really. I think, like I said, he brought in the players. Paul Lambert brought in the players that were more attacking minded, and I probably have to say Chris Hughton probably was a little bit more defensive minded, and like I said, would more kind of look on the counter attack. So yeah, it was difficult to adjust, but he obviously was brought in as the best replacement. So that's you know, as players, you just got to roll the sleeves up and get on with it.
What was your relationship like with him? Was it as close as you were with Paul Lambert?
If I'm honest, it probably wasn't as close. Obviously, he wasn't the one that brought me into the club and gave me an extra leaf of life, really. So he obviously brought in his players that wanted to fit into his philosophy. So, you know, I didn't have no problems with him. I remember obviously playing a few games under him, not as many as I liked. And as a player, you have those conversations with managers. Do you kind of see me in the club's kind of like future? And he kind of told me it did, but then told me I need to go on loan. So, you know, I went to Cardiff, had a fantastic time there, winning promotion. And I remember at the time he gave me the bad news saying I've got to come back and come back and obviously miss out on the promotion at Cardiff, which was a little disappointing because I thought, you know, there's a lot of people that could obviously come back and obviously play because there was only a couple of games left in the season. So I thought it was a little bit harsh that I'd come back and miss the promotion with Cardiff, but I think he sold me a little bit of a dream, to be harsh. So I come back thinking, you know, I'm going to be playing, but yeah, I didn't end up playing. I ended up sitting on the bench. So missing the promotion at Cardiff and then come back here sitting on the bench was not what I wanted. But like I said, it's, you know, the club pay your wages and the club tell you what to do. But obviously, Hughton obviously pulled me back for whatever reason to sit on the bench.
What was the dressing room like under Hughton? Because as you say, it would have been a very, very similar one to the one Paul Lambert had, the one that we sat here speaking about togetherness about. Was that togetherness still in the dressing room under Hughton, or was there signs of strain a little bit?
Yeah, you know, I think the dressing room was still there. Obviously not as strong as it was, but I still think it was strong. But I don't know whether the relationship with the manager and all the players were as strong as they were. I know they're obviously going to be different because obviously, like I said, he didn't bring us all in. So there's obviously going to be that little bit of strain on the relationship. But I just think I don't know whether some of the relationship with some of the bigger known players were known publicly, and obviously that probably built a bit of a dent in the relationship with the players, which kind of took effect on the performances on the pitch.
Well, I think Grant Holt's spoken quite publicly about the frustration he had under Chris and his time at Carrow Road. Was that sort of a shared emotion amongst the players? Was it one of frustration?
Yeah, I think there was a few that were kind of in the same boat as him. I think there was a few that obviously, you know, thought they were going to play and didn't, which is fair enough, but probably got led into something that they didn't believe was right. But I think that's football. Sometimes it can be a bit disheartened, a bit disloyal, but I think you've got to have the right mentality and the right experience, if you've got it, to try and put you back on the right step. Was it a sad end for you, your Norwich career? Do you look back at it and are quite upset about how it ended? No, I don't have no regrets. Obviously, coming to Norwich, I think it was, like I said, it was one of my best times here. So whether it be with Paul Lambert or Chris Hughton, I enjoyed my time. Obviously, football was my life, and I got paid for playing football. So I can't obviously regret that. So, but it would have been nice to obviously stay a bit longer, but it wasn't to be. But you know, at the moment they're in a great form. They've got a great opportunity to go back into the Premier League, and I'll definitely be cheering them on, and hopefully they can progress and do even better than what I did, and fair play to them.
There is a rumour that sort of floats around about towards the end of your time that you were offered out as part of a deal for Curtis Davis. Is that something that you were aware of?
At Norwich?
Yes, yeah. I think it was deadline day or something, and a deal with Curtis Davis.
No, not that I know of. At the time, I just got told that I might move. Just get ready, but nothing was known. But I remember seeing a rumour or seeing something in the paper saying that I was meant to be part of a deadline day deal, but I spoke to Curtis. Curtis didn't know nothing about it because obviously we went through the same youth team, but yeah, he didn't know nothing about it. So I don't know whether that was just kind of like
paper talk.
Yeah, paper talk, that everybody kind of read the same paper and obviously knew about it, but not that I know of. I didn't hear anything from the manager or directors or anyone from Norwich.
And obviously, eventually, you leave the club. We accelerate now to what is now the end of your career. I think everyone in these parts were a bit shocked when the news came out about your retirement.
Yeah.
Just tell us a bit more about the circumstance of that, because it was a heart sort of...
Like a defect,
yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
So what it was, basically, it was I was playing for Northampton, 32 years old, second game of the season. I think it was the Carabao Cup against Wycombe away. Around the 60th, maybe 70th minute, I started to feel kind of heart palpitations in the game, and just, I don't know, the game just seemed to like fly by me really. It was like everybody was moving 100 miles per hour and I was kind of just...
Like a bit dizzy?
Yeah, a little bit dizzy. So I spoke to the physio at the end, and the game was kind of like 1-1, so it went to penalties. But before that, I spoke to the physio and just said, I don't know whether I've had like a heart palpitation, but I just thought I'd let you know. And he was like, yeah, that's fine. We'll sort something out after the game. So I spoke to him the next day and I said, what do you want to do? What do you want to do about it? And he said, oh, well, I've already booked you in to see a cardiologist in Birmingham. So it happened quite quickly. So I went and spoke to the cardiologist straight away. Obviously, I told him what happened, and I had to get he booked me in to get a reveal device. So it's just like a heart monitor that's obviously reads your heart rate. That's put just underneath your kind of like your skin, just under your breastbone. So yeah, I had that when it was like a minor operation. It lasted for about an hour, and then I was back in training within kind of like 10 days. And then I think I was back in the squad, actually playing kind of like within 2 weeks. And then we had Bury away, I think it was like in October, evening game. And it was the same sort of thing. I think it was kind of like the 85th minute. I started to feel heart palpitations. Obviously I told the ref to just say, this is if I have a minute just to kind of like catch my breath, because I started to feel those same symptoms of like that dizzy feeling. So anyway, I finished the game. The physio said to me, what happened? I said, yeah, I started to feel the same like dizzy feeling, everybody running around a lot more faster than what I was kind of like reacting to. So the next day we went straight up to Birmingham. Obviously I had that reveal device, and they obviously read the data and they said that, did you feel ill or anything? Did you, what was your symptoms? And I said, nothing really. I just said that I felt a little bit dizzy. I finished the game. It wasn't a major issue. I just thought I'd, let the referee know just in case it was a little bit more serious than I thought. And he said, you sure there wasn't any kind of like anything? Did you feel ill or sick or anything? I said, no, I was fine. And he says, you do know your heart rate was racing just below 300 beats per minute. And I said, no, I didn't. He said, do you know how serious that was? And I said, not really. He said, well, if that was anybody else, he said, they probably would have collapsed and fainted. I said, that's a bit of a shock to the system because I felt fine. He says, the only reason you probably did feel fine is because you're probably used to that high intensity of football. So yeah, that was probably an eye-opener. I didn't really realise how serious it was. Obviously I spoke to Fabrice Mwamba at the time, spoke to the PFA and the managers, chairman, and they just advised me, obviously, you need to do what's best. And I had to have a defibrillator and pacemaker fitted. So that obviously, just if anything like this happens again, obviously my defibrillator and pacemaker will set me, give my heart kind of like 3 chances to get back into a normal heart rate or normal rhythm. If not, it will kind of like deliver an instant shock. Whereas then I'll have to just stop whatever I'm doing, whether it be running or anything, and just monitor it and just obviously let people know that, you know, I've had a shock. So it's obviously taken a little bit of a time for me to realise that obviously I've got to retire from football. It was quite tough at first. Obviously it's something you've done all my life and obviously it's my first love, but obviously I think I've got to realise that obviously I do need to speak about it, and I do need to kind of like raise awareness for obviously other people that have got a similar sort of thing. I think there's obviously Fraser Franks that's obviously just retired from the same sort of thing, and you know, thankfully he's been aware that is something that can happen to anybody, not just footballers. And yeah, just thankful that I'm lucky that I've kind of found it at a good time, and obviously there's a lot more things that, you know, that happens after football.
I was going to say, is there a moment where you look back now knowing that is what you've got essentially? Yeah. Is there a point you look back to early of your career and spot a moment like you had in the game you said where you had heart palpitations? Was there any signs earlier on in your career, or none at all?
No, there was none at all. I remember obviously going through like medicals when you sign for different clubs. You go and have I think it's an ECG scan, which is kind of standard, and nothing being told on that. I remember once I got told I got a heart murmur, and automatically you think, oh, you know, what is it? But they say it's quite regular in a lot of people. A lot of people have them. It is serious, but it's not kind of life-threatening. So that's the only thing I sort of found out, and that I was aware of really. So I don't know whether something probably needs to be done more often. Obviously, if you're someone like, you know, Adam Drury or Russell Martin, I stay at a club for like 10 years and
you never have the medical.
Yeah, never have that medical for like 10 years. It's quite serious. So obviously, when you're reaching that high intensity of playing football or doing any high intensity sport, obviously the risk of obviously you having kind of a cardiac arrest or a heart attack is probably getting higher and higher. So something probably needs to be done a little bit more often than obviously every time you sign that club. Is that something that could have happened then had you've kept playing for it, since you could have had a cardiac arrest, a heart attack? Possibly, if I knew about it. I don't know, obviously, you think I had a pre-season, nothing was of it, played every game of pre-season, trained every game of pre-season, didn't feel anything then, trained every day up to obviously the first incident of the heart palpitation. Didn't think nothing of it, didn't feel anything. Didn't actually feel any heart palpitations in any training sessions. And it just takes those 2 games to kind of realise obviously it was quite serious, more serious than what I thought and what everybody else thought. That must have been quite a shock to the system to get told that actually it is quite bad and it is going to force you to retire as a player. That must be your worst nightmare. Yeah, of course it is. Obviously I thought I'd be retiring on my own terms, in terms of maybe an injury, or there wasn't going to be a contract for me on the table, or, you know, something like that. I never thought I'd have to stop purely because of my fitness. I thought I'd be able to play for a long period of time. I've been in changing rooms where people have said to me, "Oh, Leon, you're quite good for your age. You could carry on for quite a while." I thought, yeah, I do feel physically good, and I've not really had many injuries, and I've always had a good kind of, I don't know, I've always been able to train like every day, or never miss training for kind of like 2 or 3 weeks unless I'm actually injured. So I've always thought that I'd be able to play on until I'm like 35. That must be quite a realisation for you then, someone who is in peak physical condition, that actually this thing can happen. Yeah. For you, your message presumably is there needs to be more checks, there needs to be more defibrillators at games, for example. Yeah, 1,000,000%. I think it just shows, obviously, within 6 months, there's obviously been 2 people that have had to kind of retire in football. Obviously, Fabrice Mwamba is obviously the more well-known one. That's obviously collapsed on the pitch and I think basically died for like 78 minutes. Is just unheard of. You don't really hear that. So I think you probably need to kind of, a lot more needs to be done. I don't know whether it's just in football, but I think in general, personally, I think any sport, and probably everyday business, really something needs to be done, because at the end of the day, it's people's lives and generations of I've got kids, so you know, God forbid anything happens to me, I've obviously got kids, I've got a wife, there's a lot of people that kind of rely on me and depend on me. So, you know, I think a lot more needs to be happening in football, in other sports, and all it takes is obviously a regular check for people to be checked on.
And what's your sort of work now? Is it can you still exercise and
yeah, so now obviously having this defibrillator is a bit like having a second heart really. So I'm back to, obviously I can go back exercising, running, doing whatever I can. Obviously they said it's not wise to play football at a competitive level, which is understandable. But like I said, I'm doing my coaching badges. I've got a soccer school. There's loads of other things that I like to do, so I'm doing a lot to keep myself busy. But in terms of obviously physically fitness, I'm back to normal really. I'm just enjoying time, obviously watching my little boys play football, and you know, coaching is probably the next best thing to playing football.
Is the aim eventually to become a manager?
Yeah, I do want to be a manager, but I think there's obviously a lot of media going on about obviously the racism in football, and I think the BAME, is it BAME? In coaching and giving people opportunity, it does obviously make you think, is it worth doing it if you're not going to get the chance? I've spoken to a lot of people and they're saying that obviously you could be the one to make a change, and obviously if you get a job you could obviously do well, and it's obviously you get more of an opportunity. So there's a lot of things that I need to think about. There's a lot of things that I want to do. So yeah, I'll give it a go and just see what happens.
Does it put you off as a black player trying to get in management when you do see the issues and stuff around that?
It doesn't put me off. It obviously you do have that thing at the back of your head thinking, is there any point? But obviously if you have that about anything, then you'll probably never ever do anything that you really set a target to do. So like I said, I'm in the process of doing my badges. I'll see what comes off it. You know, I've been doing some coaches with professional teams at the moment, so like I said, I'll complete my badges. If anything comes of it, then I'm more than happy to complete my coaching badges and work with whoever I can do. And
as we were speaking about when we came into this room about your retirement, it seems like a lot of players perhaps don't have a plan in place post-retirement. You obviously do. Are you enjoying life after football?
Yeah, so I've always, when I got to 30, I've always had kind of like a retirement plan anyway. So I always set I thought I was going to retire at 35, so I always had that in plan. So yeah, I've always had things going to keep me, you know, occupied, and I'm obviously retiring from football is not great, but I've had great things that have kind of helped me along the way, and I'm actually quite enjoying it really. I'm on the golf course a lot more than what I thought, and yeah, I get to watch a lot more football and enjoy. Obviously my little boys are playing football, so yeah, it's just nice to obviously be able to spend Christmas more relaxed. Obviously, like I said, we touched on earlier about obviously having not being able to do things at Christmas when you're a footballer. So yeah, I've been able to spend time with my family at Christmas. Probably have a few more drinks than I'm allowed, and just sit down and watch the football, which is nice.
And I suppose before we let you go, we've got to talk about this current Norwich City team. Do you see a lot in this Norwich team that you saw within your own under Paul Lambert?
It's hard to say. Obviously, I'm not in the dressing room of the current team at the moment, but what I'm seeing on the pitch, I think they're delivering unbelievable performances. You've got a man that's scoring many goals, I think like 26 goals, and he's just got the player of the season. So, or the EFL player of the season. So it's fantastic to have someone like that in your team. I think I think it's theirs to lose. I think at the moment, I think they've got a great team, great managers, put them in a direction. I think they've got the trust from the directors and the chairman. Yeah, it's all to play for. But I think ultimately it's in their hands. I think second place would be not a failure, but it'd be a little bit disappointing. But yeah, it's totally up to them. I think the players are in a good frame of mind, and yeah, it's all in their hands for them to win. And you know, I hope that they get the good greeting that we did from the fans, that, you know, the welcome meeting and everything that we got when we got promoted. And yeah, like I said, it's down for them to do it, and all the best to them. I'm sure they will. But yeah, good luck.
I suppose there's quite a few similarities in the sense that they're a group of players. Perhaps not many of them have played in the Premier League. No. Quite a few of them have played in foreign leagues, have come over in that sense. So as their dressing room, I suppose, what would your advice be if they do get to the Premier League? How they should handle it?
Yeah, I think, well, like you said earlier, I think there is probably a lot of similarities more than I think now. I think obviously they're German, the manager's German, and obviously Paul Lambert did play in Germany for a bit, and you know they've got a good goal scorer like that, Timu Buki, and we obviously had Grant Holt at the time. So little things like that, there is probably a lot of similarities, and like I said, I don't want to say if, but they should get promoted, and if they do, I think they've just got to embrace every moment, because obviously it doesn't happen often, and for some of those players in the team at the moment, it might not happen again. So it's a great opportunity for them to go play in the best league in the world, and you know, like I did, we played against the best players in the world. So it's a great opportunity for some of them that have not played at the highest level to obviously go and establish themselves and stamp a mark and try and play and show what they can do in the best league.
And hopefully an open top bus parade. You must have enjoyed those.
I thoroughly enjoyed it, and obviously at the town hall, and yeah, there's a lot that comes with it, and hopefully the fans and everybody else in the town will appreciate what they've done for the team.
Well, fingers crossed they can do it. Leon, absolute pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.